Welcome to another Mastery Empowerment Course Introduction with Jean Eng and the Arcturian Healing Method. Today, we're talking about manifestation and the demanifestation. And this is the Arcturian Waking Down Transmissions. I want to welcome Jean to this space and say hello, Happy New Year.
Hello, Ren. Hi, everyone. Yes, Happy New Year. Looking forward to this next series and the entire year and this first one that will kick it off.
Yes, and this is a powerful year. It is an 8-year numerology wise on the Chinese zodiac. It's also a dragon year. So it's really quite perfect that we're talking about manifestation. And this concept of demanifestation is very interesting as well. Share with us what you mean by manifestation and demanifestation.
Mhm. Yeah, I believe what we're talking about here is more of the cosmic sense of the term first, and then as well as the sort of nitty-gritty of being manifested in this space-time reality, as well as reaching kind of the heights of awakening or non-dual consciousness or our divine self, which I would call the demanifest version. So we're including what we might have think of as sort of manifesting our goals or intentions, but also looking at that at a more cosmic or general level, where we're talking about the infinity, which we're trying to strive for, perhaps when we're looking for higher states of dimensions or consciousness, like connecting to star beings or even non-dual states, all the way back down to manifesting our goals. But also part of that manifestation is the recognition that our states of suffering are also forms of manifestation or contraction. So how do we work with both this infinity as well as this manifested, as well as the contracted state?
Yes, it's really interesting. And so, um, you know, if we're talking about, manifesting on the higher realms and higher states of consciousness, but still walking in this world, how do we find the balance in that? Do you ever have experiences where it's challenging for you to come back to earth, as we say?
Yeah, I think that embodies the this series here is, how do we go, let's say, to Mount Shasta, see these amazing phenomena of light, and then come home. Maybe we live on the East Coast, West Coast, or Midwest, or another country, and deal with our day-to-day life, even though we've seen these amazing high frequency, high voltages experiences. And I think, we've used the term embodiment or integration. So there's this process of reaching these very exalted states. Perhaps that's who we are, and then also coming back down here into the sort of here and now. And I think a lot of it has to do with finding infinity within the mundane experiences that we have, our moment to moment experiences. Because even when we're talking about exalted states, sometimes if we get outside of the present moment or the now moment, there's still thoughts. They may be thoughts of the future or thoughts of something that we're experiencing. So we're still in that commenting mind. So I think the answer kind of jumped to the end, where the conclusion is to find in our day to day, moment to moment experience both the infinity as well as the manifestation simultaneously.
Yeah, that's really fascinating to find the infinity and the manifestation simultaneously. That really is quantum in a way, isn't it? It's pure presence and being in a state of awareness that is immaculate awareness and true presence. And it's interesting that here we are in an 8-year, and the number 8 is the infinity symbol. And if we look at the infinity symbol horizontally, the 8 on a horizontal level, that crisscross in the middle is almost like 0 point. And so that to me feels like that is that balance of the infinite and the mass manifestation.
Yeah, exactly. As a sacred geometrical figure, yes, the infinity symbol, and like you said, the kind of dwelling point of just being right in that center point where the loops meet would be this movement from infinity, then coming back down into manifestation. moving back into infinity and coming back down into manifestation, which on a one larger scale is kind of the birth, death, rebirth cycle.
Wow. And isn't this how the great sages manifest, like Sai Baba? He was known to manifest things, rings, things in the physical realm. Is that what we're talking about here? Expanding into higher realms with spirit guides, non-dual access that way, infinite, higher dimensions, but yet there's a realness to it. How does the two relate to you? How does being in that heightened state help us manifest in the physical?
Mhm. Yeah, I think there are the extremes. You know, we can see that. We can see that outside ourselves. We can see it as possibilities. We can see that in others. We can see that in ourselves. You know, where we are kind of in these exalted states, maybe working with guides who are non-physical. Then we're sort of almost, if we don't bring that back here into the here and now of the physical world, usually we're forced back to bring that backed by something. Sometimes it's just the focus on our body will bring us back. So if we kind of ride the wave, if we know skillfully that even in the exalted sort of non-dual or non-physical states where we're working with higher frequencies, that we also bring that back down to the here and now. Kind of the even the mundane has that infinite quality, then we're sort of intentionally riding the infinity loop rather than having it naturally bring us back down.
All right, really good, because we know we've talked about that in these groups. We can be elated and exalted, but then yet living and walking it kind of snaps us out of it. So this is really anchoring it in our physical third 3D, third dimensional realm. And really, it's almost as if we're becoming more fifth dimensional when we do this. We're expanding multidimensionally and able to hold more of that as we walk on planet Earth, still in physical form, with heightened levels of consciousness.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. I think, you know, we could imagine our best friend who's sort of developed, maybe we'd like a friend who's sort of very down to earth, very in the here and now, can be with us here and now, could discuss, you know, these higher forms of reality, but also is just present, sort of in this world, could also discuss our suffering. And that's part of the also this process, the what I would call the contracted states which we could tend to run away from. But in this sort of conception or integration, we embrace even those areas where we find very difficult, you know, where it may be painful, painful in relationships, painful in our understanding of ourselves. Because usually, if that isn't happening because of the way the infinity loop will bring us back, it'll be forced into the shadow and somehow emerge in a way that it maybe is less skillful, but we'll still have to face it, but we may not be facing it in terms of our own terms. So I think a lot of this integration is also working with those areas that we're not comfortable with.
Right, we cannot avoid it, but it's actually going to help us become comfortable and maybe remember more of who we are in those mundane experiences. Yeah, okay. So we are inviting our beautiful audience to join in these transmissions. We have 3 transmissions in each of these series, and we go 3 days in a row, and it really builds upon each other, although it doesn't have to go in that linear sequence. And so let's talk about the different transmissions that we've got. We've got the infinite space, the point of light, and down to earth. Can you describe each of these and what you think is going to happen in these transmissions, what they're for?
Mhm. Yeah, I think you know what comes to mind with the first one is you know we're seeing the rise of psychedelics. Of course, that was a big portion of maybe the spiritual movement, like starting in the '60s, for example, with Timothy Leary and Ram Dass at the time. But now we have kind of emergence of ayahuasca And this is just a natural sort of longing, if you look at it from a little bit from afar, maybe 1,000 a yard view of why are people very interested in that is that we're searching again for the exalted states of consciousness. So
Mm.
this is the opposite of the mundane, down to earth. We've had too much mundane, down to earth. It's almost maybe on an extreme level. If you see someone else doing it in an extreme way, you may even see it as a form of escapism. It doesn't have to only be with substances. Even meditating, like going on a retreat for half the year. For some people who are observing someone who's motivated to do that, would could be seen as a form of escapism. But then have to ask why are more and more people doing that? Why more and more people sort of trying to find these exalted states is because we are forced maybe to be more here in kind of 3D, and we see kind of a lot of the suffering of 3D. So we're actually trying, subconsciously perhaps to find these non-dual states, these exalted states. And so this first transmission is to acknowledge, that we have that yearning to kind of return home, to return to something that's not here in the density of 3D reality. That's our divine self. So that's sort of what's embodied in this first transmission.
And the transmissions are energetic downloads, and they are going to assist us with what? Accessing the higher realms, the exalted states. They're going to help us recognize or witness them even more, or experience them more, anchor them in more. Is that really what you have in mind?
Yeah, I think that's what the transmissions do as they're being held, by the divine, by our higher self, by our guides that we were mentioning before, and kind of continuing with this sort of, this psychedelic movement. A lot of people who I've talked to who've sort of had those experiences, who use that as part of their path, kind of saw it as a way to break through in a way much more quickly than, let's say, meditating every day for 30 minutes, for which might take maybe 5, 10 years to have sort of this non-dual experience. Like in one evening, you can have this non-dual experience, of sort of seeing kind of cosmic reality very directly. And the way I've seen people who then continue with some type of day-to-day practice see it as a little bit like taking a helicopter, up to the top of, the Himalayan mountains and sort of getting a view and a taste of what it's like to be up there, and then going back down and sort of climbing the mountain slowly. But at least they've had that experience of, what is this, non-dual, high level experience. So I think what we're really seeing is more deeply into ourselves, but we do have this sort of heavy weight of physicality, which is on us, and there's of course a very strong thought form to keep us or have us continue to see 3D reality as the most pressing and real aspect of ourselves. And so something like the transmissions allow us, this one particularly, to access this deepest part of ourselves.
Ayahuasca free as well. Okay. Yeah, that sounds really remarkable. And so we're looking forward to experiencing that. It's almost like a muscle as we practice it, and sense into it, then we'll be able to feel that it's not just our imagination when it happens again, or when we reach into those states again, sitting on our couch or in meditation and things like this. So beautiful. All right. So that is infinite space, reaching those states of higher consciousness. And then the second one, the point of light. This is interesting because it says here that we go through the cosmic birth process to become manifest and contracted. So what is happening here?
Yeah, so this would be sort of in the infinity loop, the process of coming back down into manifestation. So in any form or level of that, we do talk about like manifesting, our goals, but also just appearing like in birth here, sort of in this 3D world. is a form of manifestation. And then on a more extreme level, which people have all experienced, when we really contract down, we contract into our sense of our own personality self, or maybe it's a concept, or maybe it's an experience, a feeling. When we really hold on to that tight, maybe over tight, that's when we're in these more suffering states. So it's embodying or kind of dealing with all of those. Because usually, like I was mentioning, if we try to avoid those fully contracted states, they just end up in the shadow areas of ourselves and then are dealt with, but now with our full awareness. So this particular transmission is kind of working with this contracted or manifested aspect of our being and how to navigate that or how to embrace that fully.
Okay. And it says that this is the Shakti divine feminine coming into manifestation as abundance, creativity, and prosperity. How does that work? Why is it the Shakti divine feminine that's at work here?
Mhm. Usually, in this sort of dichotomy or complementary forces, the Shakti is kind of the divine force of manifestation, the creative energy, and then Shiva is sort of the pure consciousness. You could say it's what we're trying to access in the first transmission, this pure non-dual consciousness. And then in the second one, it's sort of like how does that consciousness actually lower its vibration until it shows up as some type of form, and maybe like you're saying that Babaji, had full control of that. Maybe it was able to bring that in faster, like immediately form ashes in his hand. For us, if we wanted to form ashes, we might have to go, chop a tree, cut it up, burn it, and then scoop a little bit off. And, after a couple hours, we could manifest ashes. We still manifest ashes. It may be seemingly a mundane way to do it, not very magical, but we could do it. It just would take a lot of more time. And so a lot of times, so we're impressed by the speed in the with how certain people or masters can manifest. But we all have that ability. So this is more that manifesting quality in the second transmission and on all the levels, cosmic, like in terms of our own birth into this world, as well as very practical, like how did we actually manifest our goals or intentions or our creative pursuits.
Yes, okay. All right, so the infinite space takes us up into those higher realms. The point of life, light helps us bring it back down into this physicality. And then the third is both of it at the same time. Is that right? And that's called down to earth. Tell us about this one.
Yeah, this is again kind of looking at our model friend, so like how would we form this friend who seems to be able to, we are able to talk about these high exalted states, and as well as talk about, our deepest, darkest shadow elements, our suffering, and everything in between. And so the down to earth is exactly what you're saying, is like you're no longer riding actually any part of the infinity symbol. You're actually the entire symbol at once. Maybe you're outside it at that point, as well as part of it. And usually that comes in being able to work with any experience that's appearing to you, seeing both its infinite quality as well as its kind of contracted or manifested quality. And you're okay with however it's showing up. And sometimes to reach that state, or maybe that's an ideal where you can accept anything that's happening, is sort of the goal or the movement of this third transmission.
Okay, just sensing into that and feeling into it. It's as if I love what you said there about seeing the contracted form of something, because that gives us much hope that there's something beyond that, something much bigger than that. So if we're faced with suffering, like you said, in the point of life, if light, if we're contracted in these experiences that would bring suffering, then we can reach for another level of consciousness and move beyond that suffering. It turns the suffering, it dissolves the suffering then, doesn't it? It allows us to be more balanced.
Yeah, exactly. In some ways, like what we're trying to exit is our moment to moment commenting on our experience and
Mm.
just kind of embracing the experience as it is. And it usually kind of moves on. But usually it's our commenting, the looping, where the suffering occurs. So if you have an experience and then you continue for some reason to get latched on to that in terms of how you comment about it, like that it wasn't good, it wasn't supposed to happen, why me? Like that could be a possible loop. And then you continue with that, on and on. It could be even years. Then, but the experience is actually over. It was over, 20 years ago. Then that's what leads to the suffering. Maybe not the pain of the experience, which just dissolves, but the suffering is the looping. So this is the third transmission again, or even the all three is the awareness that we do have this commenting mind, but that we're trying to release that commenting mind and experience the here and now.
All right, very good. So it will remove us from projecting ourselves into the past and into the future and being fully present. Beautiful. Okay, so let's do a little mini transmission so that our viewers can experience a little bit about these frequencies. What do you have for us?
Yeah, we'll experience this here and now of the down to earth frequencies or transmissions, bringing us more sort of into this present where we can embrace both our infinitude as well as our manifested self or experience. And so people can just relax and just see what they feel. And if you had a certain intention behind that, you can set that as we're starting the transmission. This will be about 5 minutes or a little less than that. So we're starting the Arcturian down to earth transmission frequencies. We're working with this first deepening cycle of these frequencies, bringing us into the here and now where we're open to accepting whatever is arising. Now we're entering a second deepening cycle, deepening our presence of whatever we're experiencing. And finally, we're entering a third deepening cycle, integrating this deeper into our system. And that completes the transmission. You can gently but firmly come back to your physical body now. And when you feel comfortable, you can open your eyes and snap your fingers.
Thank you, thank you, thank you for that. I am always so awed by the frequency and the pace of that frequency. And there's nothing to do. It's so calming. From that one, there was such peace, right straight away, such peace. And still in the first phase, I felt this letting go of control. And it was really a mental process. So it's like letting go of control over circumstances. And yet still being connected to the greater higher realms, knowing that everything is okay and sensing the greatness of who we are. And so this is really healing for all of us on many levels. So as we walk with this, I can see where we are at peace with everything in the world, that we really are expanded spiritually and consciously, but incredible players of light on the planet, because it's almost as if we're going to stop our complaining. No more complaining, no more needing to control. It really is acceptance of things as they are from a very empowered viewpoint.
Oh yeah, yeah. I also would second that. Uh, these transmissions are really the higher beings, running the show, so to speak, and letting that energy come through. And they usually, bring down more than perhaps I or we can encapsulate in words, and usually unfolds in a way that's a mystery, in a very positive way. So more, but I think we kind of get the general gist or outline in sort of what we're describing. That's been my experience with the various mastery empowerment courses. Once they're unpacked, and my sense was, yes, living in a state of joy or happiness is the ultimate goal of these transmissions.
Yes, and that is a very powerful place to be in flow and create our world with the beauty that we are here. And so it really does release us out of the mental mind, the ego mind. So we invite all of those watching and listening to join us in these transmissions. They really are special in the fact that we're together for 2 hours for each session. And there's an hour-long transmission of these frequencies. There's a variety of them that attune us into the calmness and cleansing our subtle bodies so that we can be open to receive and experience this. And many of the people who join us share some amazing experiences of what they sense. Sometimes they do get higher beings that come to them. They get visions. They get new awarenesses, they get healings, and it really is amazing to witness and be in a supportive group as well. So we invite you to join us for these transmissions, and you will also get a bonus package, a bonus item. And we'll have that on this webpage that you're looking at. But Jean, I don't know if you've got any ideas on what that would be at this moment.
Yeah, maybe the last one that we just did in December. Uh, I believe that was very practical and also slightly in resonance with that. I believe it was the inner radiance.
Yes, inner radiance. What a beautiful one as well. Okay, so that is a bonus when you purchase this, and you can join us and experience all of these. And we really look forward to it. So, Jean, do you have any thoughts or words of encouragement for those who might be seeking something like this and how this can be beneficial for their lives?
Oh yeah, I think another part that was very intentional for this series here that happens kind of automatically, like you're talking about, is that the divine and the higher beings, our higher self, will continue to work during the evening, during the nighttime, during our sleep with downloads and transmissions. In the past, we sort of kept that open as possibilities, but I kind of got this sense that the beings that are holding this sort of space will also be continuing kind of this what I call night school. And so, whether people, it's great, most people will remember their experiences, so you can bring that to the next day's discussion, or even from now, if you listen to this, you may start the night school if you feel like you wanted to be part of, the process. And even on the first day, if you have significant dreams from here until the class, that would be, part of that learning already. So we might even start the first day sharing those experiences. And even if you don't remember your dreams, that doesn't mean that your consciousness wasn't there, also downloading the experience. So it'll probably still also be happening. So that'll be a new kind of very mindfully intended dimension to the mastery empowerment class here.
Yes, it's really amazing how that happens. And in fact, outside on a quantum level, it's already happening. Maybe even before anyone watches this video, maybe their dream last night opened them up, because I'm thinking about my dreams, very vivid dreams last night, actually 2 nights before. And that's actually when we knew we were going to get together to record this introduction.
Mm,
Amazing dreams. And last night was a school for me. It really was. My son was a little baby, and it was really interesting. I won't go into the details, but it was just fascinating that that has already begun. And
mm.
so beautiful as we join together in our first session, even. So pay attention, everyone. Pay attention to those dreams and share with us as well, because we will get further insight. And just by listening to other people sharing, we are then able to reflect in our own experiences and say, oh, that's what that was. I get that now. All of these sessions are so powerful when we're in the group synergy. So that makes it so special. And another thing that makes it really special is the container that is held over the 3 days, which we find lasts even further outside of the session. We still continue to unpack those downloads, as you say, and reveal them in our lives in new and fresh ways. So we invite everyone who is interested, if this resonates with your heart at all, please join us. The link is right here in the description box or on this webpage that you're looking at now. And we're excited because the energy builds over the 3 days. And if you can't be in all 3 days, it's okay, because the recordings are available and you can tap in any order and experience those sessions. So thank you, Jean. How about your dreams of lately? Anything that you have to report there?
Oh yeah, I think that part of this was inspired by some recent dreams within the last 2 or 3 days.
Mm.
Really, I think what the dream space does is it allows us to be untethered by kind of the physical constraints. So if you look at it as a classroom, like if we go to a physical classroom, we're still constrained by sort of the physical world. And then if we go to a classroom in the dream world, so to speak, we can do kind of amazing things without those constraints, jump around, transform, see many things all at once, and many different forms show up. So I think a lot of this particular series here, the this waking down transmissions was inspired by recent dream within the last couple of days.
Okay, waking down transmissions, being awake, but bringing it down to earth. Is that really what that means?
Exactly.
Okay, join us for this waking down transmissions, and with that, you'll get the inner radiance as well. And we are really looking forward to joining everyone and being in this incredible experience of light with the Arcturians and all of you. Thank you, Jean. We are looking forward to it. Namaste.
Thanks, Lauren. Thanks, everyone.
This has been a presentation of New Earth One Network, your home for New Earth living. Access information, education, and videos on living from the heart in unity consciousness. Visit newearth1.com.